us. It's our absolute pleasure to be hosting you today and hosting another talk from the series of talks by women photographers. The initiative was put together to celebrate the works of women photographers and to familiarize the audience with their incredible contribution to the field of visual storytelling. What we also wanted to achieve by way of these talks was not only have photographers on board in these talks who are talking about their works and sharing their works with us, but also have a lot of people who are working with photos, because the understanding of photos is derived from a lot of uh, other sources than just looking at photographs, which is why we have been trying to host curators and we've been trying to host photo editors on these talks as well. And Delphine has been very gracious to accept our invitation for today. Delphine Lelu was born in Burgundy, the city also known as the cradle of photography. She was born into a family of photographers, and it has always been a part of her life. She was studying law when she discovered the Visa pour l'Image Perpignan and started working with Sylvie Grumbach in her press and communication team. In 1999, she started working with the festival director Jean-Francois Leroy for the company Images Evidence. She was later promoted to the position of deputy director and eventually became a partner in the company. Welcome, Delphine. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you for welcoming me, Soumya. I'm really happy and honored to be part of the conference and to have the possibility to speak about the amazing festival we are organizing each year in Perpignan. And I hope to I will give the I will make people want to come to discover the festival in Perpignan.
Thank you so much. To begin with, Delphine, I want to understand and I want to ask you, why has it been important for the Visa pour l'Image team to be hosting a festival which is focused on photojournalism?
In fact, when Jean-François Leroy created the festival, it was because there were no festival dedicated to photojournalism. There were festivals dedicated to fashion show, to art pictures, to different kind of pictures, but not to photojournalism.
So, like you said, Visa pour l'Image Perpignan was the first international festival which was focused on photojournalism when it was launched in 1989.
Yes.
So ever since, so many more photo festivals have sprung up internationally, celebrating the various genres of photography, and that continues to this day itself. And somewhere traditional photojournalism in the traditional sense is also becoming obsolete in the space of photo festivals. Why do you think there's an urge to look towards newer ways of telling stories outside of the photojournalistic way of documenting reality?
Yes, there is many different way to tell stories, and for sure, I'm not feeling like giving advice for other way to show photojournalism other than the traditional way, because since 30 years I'm working for the festival. In Perpignan, we really show traditional way of showing photojournalism. But for sure it starts to change because with social media and the internet and things like this, people are moving from photography to video, and sometimes using both. And plus, if you want to work for a magazine today, you should be a photographer, but also a videographer, and also sometimes a journalist. So it's good to see the new way of photojournalism emerging. But in Perpignan, you will always find the traditional one.
True. Do you think In the current scenario of social media, when we're all so overwhelmed with imagery coming in from all sides, uh, it is even more important to have a photo festival that picks up the best of the imagery and puts it out there for the audience to see.
Yes, yes, perhaps also, because it's true that today it's not like before, because today you can be a photographer with a camera, but you can also be a photographer with your phone, and you can take picture everywhere. And I think there is more and more photographer, but it's more difficult to be part of the top of those photographers, because before you didn't have a lot of concurrence, but today you have a lot. So you should always be on the top, and you should always think about original stories. And I think it's quite a different way to be photojournalist today than 30 years ago.
Uh, Also, when you're putting a festival of this scale together, which is certainly the most important photo festival on photojournalism in the world today, what is it that you're really looking for in the works that you select and that you exhibit and curate as part of the exhibition?
Um, First, the interest of journalistic reporting, because it's really important to. Sometimes you discover some report, and you say, "Okay, I never heard about that," and it's really important to show it to the world, because people should know about that. And then after, the originality of the project, which is also important, because it's for example, you can cover a topic like I don't know, transgender around the world, but you should find something else, something special, which will make your report better than the one which existed before. And for that, you need to have a knowledge of photojournalism and to have seen what the others have done before. And then the last aspect should be, I will say, the photographic quality. Photographic quality, because if you have the journalistic interest, but not the photographic quality, you miss something. So that's the point.
Right. So, like a lot of photographers say, and I was just hearing Brent Sturton said it in one of his interviews as well, the job of a photojournalist is not to be just a photographer, but to also be the journalist. So, when you're looking for works, it's important for you that both the aspects come together.
Yes, it is.
One of the things that photojournalism and a lot of photo awards often get accused of is showing a lot of misery. Now, though that is the nature of photojournalism, and that is very important in the world today, but do you agree with this criticism? And what are your thoughts on this?
I don't agree with that, because photojournalism it's not just wars and conflicts and cruel things and bad things. It's also explaining why animals are killed around the world. And it's also explain. You can show some photojournalists are very strong. For example, you hosted Stephanie Sinclair, who is a really talented photographer, and she has been working on the wedding of the young girls around the world. And the way she shows that, it's very it's very terrible problem around the world. But the way she's photographing is not terrible. You know, she's showing little girls living very bad time, but always smiling. And the way she's showing is denouncing something, but it's not dark.
I agree with you on that. And being a photojournalist myself, I also uh, really think that if there is so much of misery in the world, it needs to be out there and it needs to be spoken about. Because I think as a race, we constantly endeavor to move in a better direction, and which is why photojournalism is still important.
Yes.
Uh, so if I talk about photojournalism itself, then we can say that the vocabulary of photojournalism is changing, particularly so in the recent times, with a very different set of aesthetics and conversations which are questioning the way photographs have traditionally been taken. It's questioning the ethnicities of people who photographing them, the importance of people telling their own stories. People are talking about ethics of photojournalism and the agency of photographers. How do you think photojournalism is adapting to it, and why is it still important to practice photojournalism in the traditional sense that we talk about, in the sense of documenting the reality of what is actually happening, as against, let's say, uh, there's a lot of conceptual approach that is coming into documentary photography or photojournalism. There's a lot of posed work that's coming into this space. So how important is it for photojournalism to adapt to these, and how important is it to practice photojournalism in the traditional sense also?
So for me, it's important to practice in the traditional way, because that's the way you are reflecting what your eyes see. And you take your camera, you shoot what you see, and you give some information to the public. Okay, but if you start to do something like a bit conceptual, okay, you don't have the the moment that which something happened and which is real, and you can start to be on a different size, and to start to be on the size of the of art photography. So for me, that's why it's important to keep the traditional way. But for sure, it's not always easy as a photographer to get enough money with practicing only photojournalism in the traditional way. So, for me, you can make both, but depending the final of your images. If it's for the information, it should stay something traditional. But if it's for selling in galleries, or if it's for art photo festival, for me it's possible. I agree with that. It's not a problem. So it's possible to make both, but you have to think about that before doing it, and to make sure that you tell the truth.
Sure. I just like to tell the audience here that they can put in their question and answers for Delphine to take, and I'll pose the
Okay.
questions to her.
Okay.
Delphine, you also talk about how photojournalists do not get paid enough for what they do, and in these times specifically, where there is diminishing press freedom in a lot of countries around the world, it is even more difficult for photojournalists and journalists to operate. Uh, what are the different ways in which Visa Pull Limarge supports photographers and photojournalists who want to work on such projects?
Okay, so the exhibited photographers at the are paid like they get some royalty fees. Okay, it's not that much, but for 3 weeks exhibition, it's 1,000 euros for each exhibited photographer. And plus the third week, we have a school week. And during this school week, we ask to 5 or 6 photographers to come back. And if they agree, they get an extra payment of 1,000 euros. And then after the exhibition, we produce the prints, and we give them the prints. So the exhibition is their property, and they can sell the exhibition, rent it, they can do whatever they want, and that's a plus for them. And the last part is the award we are organizing in Perpignan, with all the awards that we are distributing through the help of the partners. I think it's 165,000 euros every year.
That's incredible.
So that's a real help for photographers to produce some new reports, and plus some reports which are difficult to produce with the magazines, because as a photographer, you know that there is some topics which are not interesting very much the publications. So we are really proud about that.
Thank you. One thing that I have also been told by a couple of curators, and this is particularly in India, I can't say that internationally, is that photojournalism does not have a space in the gallery until it's in retrospect. Would you agree with that?
I can agree with that, yes. I can agree with that, but I can also not agree with that. It's I'm sorry. Yes. It's a gallery. It's a gallery, but an introspect. It's an introspect too, but sometimes it's also not a gallery and just an introspect. And yes, I agree with both.
Yeah, but probably photojournalism as art, as art prints by, if it's not, let's say, of something that happened, something incredibly important that happened a couple of decades ago. If it's not that, then do you think a photojournalistic print would still find buyers, or will still find interest from gallerists?
Yes, for sure. For sure, and more at that time, more and more. And photographers need it because, as we said before, it's a way also to get some money. But sometimes you also have some talented photojournalists who leave the field and are doing pictures just for galleries, and I think it's sad news for the profession, because they are talented as photojournalists. So if they can keep both and stay on both sides, that's better.
We have an attendee, Romani, who's asking, how different are the opportunities for female photojournalists in your part of the world? And how many female photojournalists stick to the traditional way? So I think, the second bit of what you said, the question does talk about that as well. But if you can, kind of give an overview, I'll repeat the question for you. How different are the opportunities for female photojournalists in your part of the world? And how many female photojournalists stick to the traditional way?
It's in France, you know, and for the festival, you are not a woman or a man photographer, you just are a photographer. And for example, you know, when we receive a lot of proposals from all around the world, and we look at them, and at the end, when we look at the program, we say, oh, for example, this year, we have more women exhibited than men. But when we selected the work, we didn't look at the ID of the photographer. So we didn't select something because it's a woman or because it's a man. We selected because it's good. And for us, being a man or a woman, it makes no difference. The only difference it makes for me, it's that some topics are, for me, easiest to do when you are a woman. You know, for example, I think if you want to speak about rape or violence, things like this, it's perhaps more easy for a woman to have to enter in the world of another woman who is suffering from something. And also it could be truth for a man, because, you know, for example, entering in a prison where there is only men, it's nearly not possible for a woman, or it's more difficult. So sometimes it could be a good thing to be a woman. And I think in this field in France and in most of the country, it's easiest to be a woman photographer than a man photographer.
Thank you for answering that. So in these times of COVID-19, when gatherings are being restricted, people are not stepping out as much as they would want to, what should we expect from Visa pour l'Image as a photo festival? How will the festival be this year?
So it's, you know, it was, we had few months that we didn't know where we're going to go, because COVID did not change the world, and we have to face and to adapt. And we are developing we decided to develop our existing website as a digital platform to be able to make presentation online via Visa pour l'Image website. Because 20 exhibitions will be presented in real in Perpignan, but we had to cancel the 6 screening shows and the professional week with conferences and one table. So on our digital platform, you will be able from August 29 to September 6, which is usually the professional week, you will be able, if you're not coming to Perpignan, to discover 20 exhibitions plus 6 screenings and plus interview and all the ceremonies, awards on this. You just will have to register, but it will be free and open to everybody. So for Indian photographer or even Indian public or people all over the world, if you want to discover Visa pour l'Image, it could be a good start.
That sounds incredible.
Yes, even if it's not the same, because, you know, the screening we organize in Perpignan, we screen images on the screen, which is 8 meters high by 24 meters long. And I know that when photographers come for the first time in Perpignan and they saw their own images on the screen, you know, you have the I don't know how we say in English, but you know, the hairs are.
Yeah, I get it. I know
Yeah.
what we say it in Hindi, but yeah.
And it's always, it's always, you know, even for me after 30 years, being at the Campo Santo, looking at the screening is just so amazing. So you won't have this in front of your computer, but you can discover it, and I hope many people will virtually discover Visa pour l'image, and that it will also give the idea to photographer to send some proposal for Visa pour l'image 2021.
This is absolutely amazing to know because, you know, for the first time, for so many of us who've just heard of the festival and haven't been able to visit it ever, we're finally going to be able to see it on a virtual platform. So I think in those ways, it's an incredible opportunity that's come out in these times.
Yeah, and it was important for us to, because developing a website, it costs money, and as photographer, like the photographer in this field, this year we had to face with partners who are not supporting anymore the festival, so it's not so easy to find the money. But and finally we welcome some new partners like Google's and you know, like partners which are interested in the digital platform. But it was important for us to leave the event free, because we are also very proud to have one of the WOW festival who is open to everybody and who is free.
Thank you so much for doing that, because I'm sure it'll mean so much to a lot of photojournalists sitting all over the world and to be accessing those resources.
Yeah, you know, without the city of Perpignan, Canon, and the region and the partners, the partners who are giving their support since many years, we will not be able to do it. And also with the support of the photojournalists, which are coming every year to Perpignan, because it's also like a meeting, you know, for photojournalists. What it's important to say, I think, not this year for sure, because there is a COVID and the edition will be different, but usually in Perpignan during the professional week, we have like 2,600 people coming from 55 countries. So that's an opportunity, you know, for example, if you come from India, you will be able to meet some a professional from France, from Germany, from Italy, from USA, from Australia, from Greece, from all over the world. So that's a cost, because you have to pay a flight ticket and you have to pay an hotel during a week. But that will be a higher cost if you have to fly to New York, to Paris, to London. So for some photographers, it's like a meeting place once a year. And you see also the people that you're crossing when you are shooting, you know, around the world. You cross some other photographers, and that's a way you can meet together once a year.
For sure. But are we also, should we also expect portfolio reviews to be happening virtually this year?
Yes, we're going to organize some online portfolio reviews. And in Perpignan, if we have a few photographers coming and few photo editors coming, we will organize at the last minute some real portfolio reviews. But at the moment, we are working on the virtual one. And I want to say that our website is not updated right now. but in few weeks it's going to be updated, and people could register for the portfolio reviews, I think in July.
Sure. Thank you for all of that information. I'd like to deviate a bit here. We have a question from Dinesh Krishnan. He's asking, mobile phones have made photojournalism very democratic, but it has also, in a steady way, eroding the very need of having specialists as photojournalists. You did mention that photojournalists have to double up as reporters too, but usually it is going the other way. Uh, so what is the future in that case? If there's such a democratization of photojournalism.
For me, it's possible to make photography with your phone, but the thing is, if you are a good photographer, you will do good photography with your phone or with your camera. But if you are a bad photographer, like I am the worst photographer you will never met in your life. If I take my camera, if I take my phone, I will have anyway a ugly picture. So for me, the images you're doing, it's I think you're not using the same material if you are reporting for fashion, for example, or if you are reporting on something special when you should be discreet and not showing that you are a photojournalist or something like this. I have some friends who were shooting in Iran, and it was difficult. So they prefer to use a very small camera, and this way they were looking more like tourists than professional, and it was a way to be safe also. But everything's possible. Everything's possible. I have nothing against pictures made with an iPhone, and also we made an exhibition once with David Gutenfelder when he used Instagram, and we made a complete exhibition with him on images made with Instagram.
Sure. So it is, technology and the democratization of photojournalism, you're saying, is as much an opportunity for photographers as well.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Michael Netzer. I think it's more of a comment and then followed by a question. I'll just read it out to you. About the digital platform of Visa pour l'Image, the screenings, for instance, were limited to about 2,500 persons. Streaming will never meet the 24 into 8-meter screen size quality. But could it be an amazing way to discover Visa for a lot of people all around the world? Also for partners, we could say the same for the conference during the Pro Week. Being more visible, the festival may bring a lot of people in Perpignan in 2021.
Yes, that's if it is right. Michel is right, because that's what we are looking for. We really hope that it's going to be a way to make it discovered by most of the people around the world, and particularly in India, because I imagine that it's difficult for Indian photographer to pay a flight ticket to fly to Perpignan. And Perpignan is not Paris, it's south of France. So when you arrive in Paris, you have to fly south of France.
Sure.
But if they like what they're gonna discover on the platform, on the website, perhaps once in their life, they will try to find the money, to save the money, to come to see it once. And perhaps one in their life, they will have the pleasure to see their images in the wall of Perpignan or on this huge screen at the Campo Santo.
That's for sure. You're right about that, because for a lot of photographers in this part of the world, it's an immense cost to travel to Europe and to Perpignan specifically for a festival, because also when you're not connected with people, you don't really know where to start. So the fact that it can all be put together on one platform and it's available for photographers to engage can be an incredible opportunity for a lot of us here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It is. And plus, for those who never heard about Visa pour l'image, I will propose them to visit the platform www.visapourlimage.com in the coming months, and for next edition to apply for the awards and the grants that we are organizing, because it's also a way to help photographers to do the report they cannot do because they miss money.
Sure. There's a question from Geetika, which is slightly away from what we've been talking about. She's talking about storytelling in the times of COVID, and she's saying, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find her question. Yeah. She's saying, with COVID-19 around, do you think the storytelling needs to be looked with different perspective? And are we moving towards a digital era with respect to the storytelling?
Yes, I think the problem is, at that time, we do not have, I don't know how it is in India, but in France, and I think it's in most of the country, but there is a prize for the images that you sell to the magazines. There is a minimum price. But for the website and for the internet publication, at that time, there is not a minimum price, no regulation, no laws. And that's something missing. And that's a problem that we have to resolve in the future, to make sure that photographers can, they don't have to I don't have the word, but photographers can continue to make money with publication online, like they can do with publication on paper. That's important. And we need to have some special rules for the multimedia platform. And for me, that's what we have to develop. So it's a good thing, but we should be careful and to save this field and the profession. Because, you cannot have images sell for €1 or €2, because it costs more,
So, with all this storytelling happening online and with all these images being showcased online, there will also be that sort of regulation that photographers and content creators in general would start demanding and pushing for, and the kind of adaptation that publications will then have to do if they want to be putting all this content out there.
Yes. Yes. And plus, for me, we are organizing every year it's not a workshop, it's we call it transmission. And during this transmission, we have 12 students, photographer students. Everybody can take part. And we have 5 professionals, which are from different fields, professional photographer, professional editors, professional journalists. And during 3 days, they spend all days together, and they're taking advice from the teachers, and they show their work, and they grow up together, And we were thinking about organizing this as a digital event, but finally we think that you don't have the like the emotion that you get by spending 3 days together, having a drink, having a talk, having a dinner, having a lunch. And finally, I think we're not going to do this transmission. We're going to wait for next edition, because something should happen in real. There is many things that could be developed on the digital platform, but also there is some events which have to take place in real, for sure.
Sure. I think that's also the entire idea about having physical exhibitions versus virtual exhibitions. We're going to have to make do with virtual exhibitions this year, but obviously, the real experience is in visiting Perpignan and viewing all the exhibitions there whenever we can do that. Uh, I'll just like to, put in the last question for the day.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, you've talked about how photojournalists are doing so many things. They're writing, they're doing multimedia. Should we expect Perpignan, should we expect Visa pour l'Image Perpignan to be adapting to different media as well? Or will Visa pour l'Image stick to photojournalism?
I think we will stick to photojournalism, but we are year after year we are evolving, because we introduce part of video, we introduce part of Instagram photography, we introduce part of things which are connected with the evolution of the field, because it's important to stay connected, and also to see that the way to photography is changing. The new generation is having a style of photography which is different from the confirmed photographer, and we should take attention to that. That's important, but we will never become a art photo festival, because photojournalism is not art. It could be connected sometimes, but it's not.
Sure. We just have one more question that's come in from Axel. The question is the Visa for Image still organized in Perpignan, and why?
Why it's in Perpignan, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. It's because 32 years ago, the city of Perpignan wanted to attract people after the summer season. And they say, okay, if you have something to propose, like a cultural event, just send your proposal. And Jean-François Leroy with Michel Decron, they were two people at that time. They proposed a photojournalism festival. And other people, for example, proposed like, I don't know, circus festival, and another festival. And the city selected the photojournalism one. So that's how it starts. It's because the city wanted to have an event which attracts people. And now Perpignan is the city of photojournalism in France. Even, American people, sometimes they don't know where is Paris on the French map, but they know where is Perpignan.
Wow, that's quite a landmark achieved. And it's been such an incredible journey since, because now Perpignan is what so many of us know as the hub of photojournalism, and where so many of us want to go every year to see the works and to familiarize ourselves with what's happening and what's the best in the industry. So thank you for organizing this, and thank you for putting this together. I'm really grateful for the time you've managed to give us for the talks today. I want to thank all the audience who are here. who've participated in the talk today. I quickly want to take time to introduce everyone to the team behind Talks by Women Photographers. We have Geetika Bhandari, who's been handling all our backend and all our tech support. We also have Anjali Lohia, who has been helping us with this, but who could not join us today. And we have Gurpreet, who is been taking care of all the social media posts and making sure that the word goes out there. So thank you so much to the team, and thank you so much, Delphine, for joining in today. We will be having more of these talks, and we'll be updating our social media pages as and when the next schedules come out. Thank you so much, and have a good day, have a good night to all the people who are here.
Thank you so much, Soumya, and thank you for the audience to be interested in the festival. Thank you.
Thank you. We've shared the link of the festival in the chats for the ones who would like to see what's happening, and you could probably follow up in a couple of weeks when there are more updates for the festival this year as well.
Yes, and follow us on the website from August 29 to September 6.
Certainly, we'll do that.
Thank you very much, and take care and stay safe.
Thank you, Delphine. You too. Please stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Delphine, if you like, you could see the chat. You could click on the chat icon at the bottom and see the comments and
Okay.
basically the questions I did ask, but you could just go through them if you like.